Hi, this is Maddie Anthus. I'm with the Center for Student Success, and this video is part of the Virtual Advisor Training Series. This video will discuss advising models, responsibilities, and expectations. I'm briefly going to discuss two advising models, prescriptive and developmental. There's been a lot of research on each of these models, and if you're interested, I'd be happy to send you some relevant scholarship about each. Prescriptive advising is what students often think advising is when they get to college. This involves an exchange of information. A student has a question or a problem and they come to their advisor who gives them an answer. While this is often necessary, it doesn't really engage the student as an active participant in the learning or advising process. In a developmental model, the advisor and student have a relationship where the advisor gets to know the student and helps them to realize their goals. The advisor teaches the student how to locate information for themselves and teaches the student how to weigh alternatives and consequences so that the student makes their own decisions. The student then also accepts responsibility for the decision and takes control over their own academic experience. As an advisor, you have certain responsibilities. TC&J has an advising policy, and some of the key components of that policy are on the screen. The first component is that advisors should meet with their advisees at least once per semester. This could be individually in a one-on-one meeting or as part of group advising. 99 advising courses count as a group advising session. The second part is that advisors should review and have students sign an advising agreement upon initial meetings. The advising agreement is found on the Academic Affairs website, and each department and school handles these agreements differently. Finally, advisors should keep records of what's discussed at these meetings. This could include a student's goals, some action items you've told a student to take care of after you've met with them, possible courses they'd like to take, graduate schools they're interested in, and so forth. Keeping a record allows for more enhanced conversation during the next appointment because you can review these notes and jump right in at your next appointment without having to catch up and start from scratch. Also, if you keep a record and the student has more than one advisor, I recommend keeping in touch with the other advisor and letting them know what you discussed at your meeting. That way, both advisors can be consistent in the messaging and recommendations that they give. A lot of faculty ask me if there's a consistent record-keeping system that is used across campus, and unfortunately, there's not. Each department and school handles record-keeping differently. Some departments have paper records and some have online. Because we're virtual for fall of 2020, I definitely recommend an online record-keeping system. It also allows advisors to share notes a little easier if it's online. In the Center for Student Success, we have a Google form that students fill out when they attend an advising session. After the advising session is over, information that they've entered into that form automatically populates a Google Sheet that all of the advisors in my office have access to. That way, if a student sees one advisor one time and a different advisor the next time, we all have access to the records of those discussions and we can pick up where the other advisor left off. Just make sure if you do something like this that the advising records are kept in a confidential location. Some advisors keep records in pause. Just note that if it says student viewable comment, the students can view whatever you type in there. To be a successful advisor, you're going to help students to first define and develop realistic goals. Because you're going to know your student and forming a relationship with them, you will learn what realistic means for each student. You're also going to help students to plan their programs of study. This could mean helping them navigate to the academic requirements page and see what courses they need to graduate. Or let's say they're interested in picking up a second major, you can help them to make that plan. You're also going to help students to identify challenges and refer and connect them to appropriate resources. As you get to know your advisees, you'll start to recognize what challenges they face and obstacles that are getting in the way of them meeting their goals. Perhaps they're having mental health challenges and you think they would benefit from meeting with mental health services. Or perhaps they're not taking advantage of some of their accommodations. You might want to refer them back to the Accessibility Resource Center. Those are just a couple examples, but as you get to know and have a relationship with your advisee, you can really help them to get the help that they need. And finally, you're going to help them make informed decisions, negotiate difficulties, and take ownership of their education by learning from the consequences of their actions and choices. Since you're guiding them towards making their own decisions, you're also going to be helping them as they learn from the consequences of each of their actions. A successful advisor also listens to students' academic concerns and needs. So we want to be a resource for students when they do have questions and concerns. And finally, you're going to be available to students and take an active interest in their welfare, checking in on them, seeing how they're doing, noticing if something seems off. If you think about it, students only have some faculty members for a semester or a year, but their advisors they might have for up to 4 years. Obviously, circumstances change, but advisors are some of the longest standing fixtures in a student's academic career. And so you have the ability and potential to see how students' lives change. You can notice if something is off with a student, or if they seem distracted or upset, or maybe just really happy. So taking an interest in their welfare is a really important aspect of being a successful advisor. What do students want out of an advisor? Simply put, students want availability and accessibility, knowledge, care, and concern. They want to know that if they reach out to you, you will help them. Of course, you should have a conversation about realistic expectations of how fast you'll get back in touch with them, or the hours in which you reply, things like that. But they want to know that you are there for them, and that's really what it comes down to. As we discussed before, students are not just passively receiving information from their advisors. They are an active participant in this process. They should be gathering information, doing some self-reflection on their own goals and interests, communicating openly with you, and accepting responsibility about their decisions that they make. Of course, students can meet with you anytime throughout the semester, but commonly you will meet with students right before registration. So you should communicate with students what you expect them to do before registration. Because they are an active participant in this process, you want them to come to your advising appointment all prepared. You don't want them walking in expecting you to just give them information. They should have done the work before they come. But they might not know what that work is, so you want to communicate those expectations clearly with them. You want to first tell them how you'll be holding your advising appointments, and they should be reaching out to you and making that advising appointment well in advance of their registration window. Meaning, if they're registering for their classes at 3:00 p.m., they should not be reaching out to you at 2:30 p.m. for an appointment. They should go into pause and check their holds. They should look at their academic requirements page and any department advising material that's been prepared for them, and come to any advising sessions with prepared questions. As I said previously, they need to do the work before the meeting, but they also might not know what that work is. So make sure you have a clear conversation about what you expect them to do before they come to an advising appointment. If you have any questions, my email is on the screen, and at the bottom, manthis.youcanbook.me is my booking link, and I'd be happy to have a one-on-one discussion with you.